CPUs, GPUs, hotspots, phones. What is a person to actually mine on? Can't, but, fuck. If you're a small at-home miner like I am, every dollar counts. So for March 2024, I'm taking a look at the dollar for dollar, what is the best bet in terms of mining hardware. There's a lot of different ways to mine cryptocurrency. You only really hear about CPUs, GPUs, ASICs, and maybe a few of the other ones. So I'm gonna take a look today, pound for pound, dollar for dollar, what's the best place to put your money in mining hardware? As with all these comparison videos, the prices are gonna change. It's probably gonna change by the time I even release this video, but we have to take these spot checks from time to time to really figure out where the best place to go is. I'm the Technicals, let's get into it. All right, I'm gonna lead off with the good stuff. CPU mining, very, very hot right now, very profitable. Now, the figures here are spot checked on the 27th of February. It's not quite that, it's into March now when this video is coming out. So prices are gonna change, cryptocurrency prices are gonna change, profitability is gonna change. You're gonna have to plug your figures into a calculator to really figure out what the most up-to-date information is. But this is from the spot check, which I took here. I took this list based on ROI time off hashrate.no, link in the description below if you wanna check it out. But these currently at the time were the most profitable CPUs on the market right now. You look over this list, they're all mining Zephyr right now. Current revenues range between, we got on the low end 48 cents per day all the way up to $1.35 for the Ryzen 7900. Just added that in there real quick. All of this was based on 12 cent per kilowatt hour electricity. A lot of people have cheaper electricity, but a lot of people have really much more expensive electricity. So you're gonna have to figure out what works for you. However, CPUs, very, very profitable right now. The ROI times on these are about a year for most of them. On one of them, the Ryzen 5700X, at the time I checked it, 8 months to pay it off. Now that's just the CPU because there are ancillary costs associated with that. And so I made a quick little key here to kind of rate these different mining methods as we go down. So green, good; red, bad. Resale, you're gonna be able to resell a CPU. Your market for resale is much wider than something like an ASIC or an FPGA or something like that. So you're gonna be able to, if you wanna get out of this or you wanna dump out, you've had enough, you can list it on Facebook Marketplace, on eBay, sell it to the guy behind the Chinese restaurant, whatever. The risk, low too, because you're not investing a terrible amount of money in this, and there's the resale portion there. So you're gonna be able to get out of this if you want to very quickly, very easily. Ancillary costs, I put it in yellow, but overall it's not that much more because you're gonna need a motherboard, you're gonna need a power supply, a cooler, all the basic trimmings for building out just a very simple PC. And a lot of those components you can get the cheaper versions of. You can get a cheap power supply. Now it's going to use more electricity, but if you are on a crunch, if you're on a budget, you can get a cheaper power supply. You can get pretty cheap coolers that keep these things pretty cool. The thermal assassins that I've been using, $35 on Amazon, so not a lot of money. Further to that, most CPU miners will just plug right into a 120 volt outlet. You don't have to put in two high voltage outlets or put in PDUs or anything like that. If you just want to get started with something easy and relatively cheap, that's pretty profitable, then the ancillary costs are not that bad. Next up, looking at GPUs. Now GPUs are where I cut my teeth many, many years ago. However, I think, I'm not gonna say GPU mining is dead or dying or anything like that. However, a big change that I've noticed from mining back then to mining until now is that GPUs always had sort of one big default coin that you could always run back to. It was in the very, very beginning, it was probably Bitcoin, and then maybe a few others. But then when Ethereum came out, that was what everyone mined if there was something else not profitable, or if profits were down and you were mining at a loss. You could always go back to Ethereum because you had that one big keystone coin to go to. And since Ethereum's not around anymore, GPU mining has become much more speculative. If you go to what to mine, hashrate.no, any of the calculator sites, people are just chasing the profit day to day or putting it on auto switching platforms or something like that. And so because GPU prices, again, have that wide audience, the prices haven't really come down. It's not a supply and demand thing for miners. So I sorted by ROI. I'm not sure if I really trust this list off of hashrate.no, but these are the current Amazon prices. If you want to buy any of these things, the links are in the description below. Head over and roll the dice on a GPU if you like. Currently, RTX 4090, the flagship NVIDIA card, going for about $1850, generating 226 per day, 131 of that in being profit, again at 12 cent per kilowatt hour electricity, showing an ROI time of 4 years. Now, are crypto prices going to change in 4 years? Yes. Are electricity prices going to change in 4 years? Yes. So this is such a long time horizon that, you know, this spot check, I don't know really how relevant this is if you're interested in getting into GPU mining. But hey, you know, some big coin might pop up that's exclusively GPU mineable and is somehow able to avoid getting on FPGAs, getting on ASICs, whatever. And it offers you a lot of flexibility because, you know, not every coin is CPU mineable. I guess to some extent they are, but GPU mining, there's certainly much more power there. And so if new coins come along, you're going to be able to speculatively mine them much more easily and build out larger, more powerful rigs than you would be able to do with a CPU miner. But again, the payoff times, the ROI times on these GPUs right now, very, very long. So you might want to look on the second-hand market. That's going to reduce your ROI time if you have cheaper electricity. Again, taking a look at our key here, resale, very high. Lots of people buying GPUs, gamers, whatever. Risk, kind of low because, again, of that resale. And the ancillary costs, again, in orangish yellow because, you know, your build-out is going to be a little heavier than with a CPU rig. It's going to be, maybe you're getting into a 30 amp circuits, maybe you're getting into mining frames, mining cases, you know, cables, different things like that. There are other costs associated with it beyond just what a CPU rig would have, so we're going to put that in the yellow. Next up, FPGAs. Now, when I was looking around for information on FPGAs, it doesn't seem like there's a real big community, and it wasn't like that back when I was messing with them many years ago, because they require a bit stream to operate. So you're at the mercy of whoever is able to write a bit stream, a program that the FPGA understands on how to mine the coin. It's like the mining programs you use in Windows, but they're specially tuned for FPGAs to understand. Now, the power with FPGAs is that they're kind of like an ASIC. They can be programmed to mine very efficiently, but they have the flexibility of a GPU where they can mine different things. ASICs can't do that. However, the costs are always very high for these things because they have a wide market as well. They're not just used in mining, they're used in telecommunication and military and all sorts of different things. Right now, I was taking a look at the two, what seem to be most popular, based for mining anyway, are the Superscalar K10 and the Osprey E300, both around $5,000. The Superscalar K10 mining on Ironfish, which is about to change its algorithm anyway, it says it's generating $1,685 a day with $1,154 of that being in profit. And it says that's a 1.2 years payback, about a year. But if Ironfish moves away, then the next most profitable thing could be something that is making virtually nothing. So this gets a red on resale because you're not really certain who else is going to buy it. Gets a red on risk because, you know, you're kind of throwing a lot of money at a device that may not have anything to mine, and you're just kind of hoping someone makes a bit stream for you to use for free with a low enough fee to make it, you know, worthwhile. It gets a red there, and ancillary costs about the same in terms of ancillary costs as a GPU rig. It's going to be the same cables, probably an ATX motherboard, a case, things like that. So not like in FPGAs, to be honest. Next up, ASICs. These are dedicated mining machines. You already know this. These are the current most profitable ones right now, but again, this will change. Currently, the Antminer K7 mining CKB Eagle Song, $3,000, making $3,115 a day. You can definitely see that the earnings are there. The only problem with ASICs, as you already know, you're locked into one algorithm. You can't really move off of it. So you're betting that whatever is on CKB is going to be there for a long enough time for you to pay this thing off. But if prices keep going up, favorable conditions, currently says you'll pay this thing off in 4.3 months. So 5 months, you'll pay this thing off, and that's after electricity. That's, you know, completely ROI'd. Much the same story with the KS3M, but we have the KS5 coming out, maybe a KS7, 9, 11, 13, whatever, currently generating $69 a day. Again, saying it will pay itself off in 4.2 months, but if the KS5s hit the network in greater numbers and the difficulty goes up, that time horizon may be much longer. But if the price goes up more, then maybe shorter. Only you can make these judgments at the time when you're ready to buy something. S21, I threw this in here. It wasn't listed among the top most profitable, but it is the current most recent generation Bitcoin miner from Bitmain. And so I felt it kind of a good test. They're currently going at their cheapest for $4,000 on the internet, currently pulling $1,807 a day, $784 of that being profit. It's saying you're going to pay it back in about 1.5 years, but with the way Bitcoin's going, it could be shorter, it could be longer, who knows. So for resale, I'm putting this in the yellow because it seems like the bigger the algorithm that it mines, there is always kind of a market for resale on ASICs. Now, if you get into some of the more bespoke ones, mining things like CKB or X11 or some of the smaller algorithms, I suppose, that I think is going to get more difficult. Risk also in the yellow because again, these ASICs are all dependent on the coin or the algorithm, but really the coin of whatever it is they're mining. And ancillary cost, we're leaving this in orange, not red, because you're going to need probably some souped up power. Very few ASICs run on anything low enough for you to just plug into a 120 outlet, a 20 amp circuit. A lot of them are going to need 30 amp circuits or maybe even 50. Multiple, different power whips. Increase. They're loud. They're hot. So they're going to require some infrastructure for you to operate on your own. Helium / hotspot miners. I've only really seen these kind of recently, and when I look for calculators that say how much you're earning, I'm not sure if it has to do with network conditions or from the people coming onto the network, but from how it looks, you don't make a lot at all. Now they cost virtually nothing to run, but you do have to pay for the device. So if you get even a free device and it's free power, it's still really not worthwhile based on the calculators that I've seen. Now it seems like if these were more profitable, that there'd be more buzz about it, but it seems like a lot of people are just kind of setting them and forgetting them. Now, hey, if something happens to the Helium network and rewards go through the roof, then maybe it will just, kind of start spitting out some money to you. But right now, it doesn't look like it's worth the investment. Resale, who knows? A lot of these radio units are on eBay currently. They go up and down. They're from varied manufacturers. So that's a yellow. I'd almost put it in red, but I put it in yellow because it seems like there is some potential there. Risk, much the same story. And ancillary cost, not too bad. You can plug it right into an outlet and just kind of leave it alone. It's not loud, it doesn't get hot or anything like that. It just kind of sits there and does nothing. Next up is hard drive mining, and really this is only Chia XCH. Now I know that there are some other coins that have been hard drive mined in the past or are currently hard drive mined. Chia is the big one. And so this is just mining using your hard drives. I'm not exactly sure the technology behind it. I'm currently working on experiments with it right now. But as of right now, taking a spot check on 10 terabyte drives versus 100 terabyte drives using the Chia calculator, it looks like you could probably ROI on the drives at least in a year. So that's kind of similar to CPU mining in the same vein. And you're using much less in terms of cost because I couldn't really find out without doing the hard experiments myself how much power they're pulling. But all signs seem to indicate that they don't pull much of anything at all. So it gets a green on resale because if you want to pull it out, then it's just a computer that you're trying to resell or actual hard drives. Risk, I'm putting in orange because it's really dependent on Chia and what Chia does because again, I'm sure there are other projects that do it, but Chia is really the big one. So if something happens with Chia, then you've got a lot of people, a lot of hash that's going to be moving to those other coins. And if that's where you're going, then your rewards are going to be virtually nothing unless you're some power farmer, in which case you're not watching this video anyway. And ancillary costs, I'm putting in the yellow because hard drives, having a boatload of hard drives is it's going to require you to have like a server cabinet or some kind of NAS array or something like that. Multiple SATA cables and power setups to run just a whole bunch of hard drives. Now, off-the-shelf solutions exist for this, but again, it's going to be something you're going to have to buy. It's going to be far beyond just a normal PC that you're building. And I just want to say, if you're trying to cell phone mine, commit yourself because that's just never going to work out. I mean, it's just, come on, everybody's got a phone. It wouldn't work even if it did work. Finally, we're taking a look at cloud mining or hosted mining. So this is where you take your ASIC device, usually an ASIC, sometimes GPUs, and you send it to someone else and they mine at their facility. They have a cheaper electric rate and then they show you what your electric rate will be. So for instance, taking a look at Terra Hosting, they're frequently mentioned here on YouTube. Terra Hosting, please sponsor me. We're figuring in the cost of the S21 plus an onboarding fee. So Terra Hosting charges $200 to onboard, plus the cost, I guess, of you shipping your ASIC to them. But once you ship it to Terra, you're mining at an electric rate of 9 to 9.5 cents, I believe. It's something like that. So if your electric is more expensive than 9 cents per kilowatt hour, then you're going to be making more technically. But if you're keeping in mind if there's any kind of ongoing service fees or the setup fee you have to amortize out for a number of years, months, whatever, you're going to have to figure that into your equation. Now, if your electric rate is really, really high, then maybe that makes sense. But if you're kind of at 10 cents, then it's starting to become competitive. Maybe there's some other things that you can do to get cheaper electric or run more efficiently. Not sure. It varies for people, but for some people, they don't want the heat, they don't want the noise, they don't have the space, they don't have the power, they don't want to do the ancillary costs, etc. So for a lot of people, this may make sense. Coastal Crypto is another one that's bounced around pretty often here. So they have, it looks like a couple structures on their plan. I didn't dive deep. I didn't get a quote. I was just taking the information that's right on the surface of the website. It looks like they offer tiered electric rates. So they start you at 9.5 cents. If you prepay out for, I think it was a 12-month service, then you get a 10% discount on your electric, which brings you closer to 8. So you're getting more reward ongoing if you go ahead and front load and prepay that. So, you know, there could be some added benefit there, but you know, that's money that is not currently active. That's money you could have been putting in more ASICs or whatever. You can do the math on that. Resale is not really applicable here, or at a minimum, the same as just regular ASIC miner. The risk I'm putting in yellow because I get a little worried about sending expensive hardware to someone else and just kind of trusting them with it. Now, these companies have great reputations. I don't think that they've had any sort of big thing happen with any of the miners that they have in custody from their clients, but you know, I just don't like the idea of sending my ASIC somewhere else. But again, if you will want to trust them with that, and it's worthwhile, then go right ahead. Ancillary cost is in the green because you don't have to buy any of that other bullshit to run your miners. So you just let them worry about it. You log in and see how much money you made. So what's the final solution here? Well, for my money, it's going to be down to either CPU mining or ASICs, and that's only for right now. With CPU mining, you're not spending a ton of money to get involved. You can easily plug it in if you're a beginner. It's a very easy process, very easy to get started with. And if you're already kind of wet with crypto mining, maybe go to ASICs, maybe go to a one of the less expensive models of ASIC miners, some entry-level thing, just to kind of get your feet wet with that. It's basically exactly how my farm is set up right now. I've got a 3 GPU mining rig, and I'm really ASIC heavy, but I've got 3 CPU miners, and I hope to add more too, because they're super fun to build, they're super profitable, and they're super fensible if something happens with CPU mining. These are my opinions only. I'd love to know what you think in the comments below. If you're interested in building a CPU mining rig, check the description below for links to parts on Amazon where you can buy one and put it together probably in the next couple days. If you're interested in getting right into ASICs, I got a link in the description below over to Crypto Miner Bros. Please use my link because I get some money out of it. Otherwise, I'm TheTechnicals. See you next time.